I'm so tired of studying for this chemistry exam.
Me too. I've been studying all night. I only wish there was something more interesting that we can learn. Cassie, what about you? What is something you've always wanted to learn about?
I wish there was a class that was all about primates. I find that stuff really interesting.
I think that'd be a really cool class too. I don't really know much about them, but I'd love to learn more.
Right? Like, primates are so cool, but I wish there was something that we could learn here more about them.
Hiya, kids.
Who the are you?
I'm Dr. George, Curious George if you may. Do you want to step in my teleporter and learn about science? I got extra bananas.
Yeah! Wow, this looks like the elevator that Charlie took to leave the chocolate factory.
Nah, that can't be right.
Where the are we?
Welcome to the Congo River, the second longest river in Africa.
Wow, why are all our clothes changed?
Ahahaha, the teleporter messes up sometimes.
Oh man. Oh my god, look at all these animals.
But I'm sure there's a particular animal you're interested in.
There it is, the chimpanzee. I've always wanted to learn how they walk.
Yes, that's a pan troglodytes, also known as a chimpanzee.
Do you know any other interesting facts about them?
Why, of course I do. I am, after all, a talking monkey. Chimpanzees, interestingly, can walk at an absolute speed of 0.84 meters per second. Also, chimps have a very interesting walking style, known as digitigrade or knuckle walking. Quick, look, there is one now.
There he is.
Whoa.
This reminds me of what we learned in class about walking styles and their efficiency. The chimpanzee must have its muscle mass distributed all across its leg.
On this table are the averages for chimpanzees. Wrist radial deviation is when the primate moves the hand towards their thumb. Touchdown happens when the wrist first touches the ground. The range of motion refers to the whole movement of the wrist during the full phase of walking. The wrist radial deviation touchdown is -12 degrees, meaning the hand is moving away from the thumb. The range of motion for the wrist radial deviation is 20.7 degrees. Wrist suspension is when the wrist is flexed downward utilizing the flexor forearm muscles. The wrist suspension touchdown is 4.6 degrees, which is smaller than the wrist radial deviation. The wrist suspension range of motion is 13.2 degrees. Wrist extension is moving the hand backwards. The wrist extension touchdown is 1.7 degrees, and it can extend for a maximum of 13.7 degrees. Coronal palm angle is the angle that the palm makes with the frontal plane, the plane that splits the body into ventral and dorsal sections. 50% stance is where the hand is halfway through their gait. The coronal palm angle touchdown is 11.4 degrees, and the 50% stance is 18.6 degrees, meaning that the palm moves away from the dorsal side of the body. The sagittal palm angle is the angle the palm makes with the midline of the body. The sagittal palm angle touchdown is 4.4 degrees, and the 50% stance is -7.8 degrees, meaning they move across the midline of the body.
Wow, that's so much information I can barely even process it.
Well, if it's too much for both of you, I can always take you back home.
No, we want to learn more.
I want my brain to explode with knowledge.
I have an idea where to go next. Just step on into my van, I mean teleporter, and we'll go to the next place. Welcome to Algeria, home to maca mulata, the Reese as macaw.
Wow, is this close to the Sahara Desert?
Yes, it is. Now, if you look over there, there are some macaw.
They're walking differently from the chimpanzees. More on their palms.
But I will walk 500 miles.
Yes, great observation, Cassie. That's called palmigrade, although some of them are walking semi-digitigrade.
Wait, why do they walk differently than each other?
It is still a topic that many scientists argue about today. Yet it is understood that chimpanzees have a varying hand orientation when walking than macaque monkeys tested. Specifically, chimpanzees have a semi-protonated palm-in-hand orientation when walking, which directly leads to them walking on their knuckles, while on the other hand, macaque have a palm-out hand orientation, which results in their semi-digitigrade or palmigrade form of movement.
That's really interesting. Do you have any other fun facts about macaques?
I'm glad you asked, Cassie. This table summarizes the angles of movement of a macaque's wrist and palm. Macaques also had an absolute walking speed of 0.79 meters per second. Interestingly, when size isn't a factor, macaques actually walk 45% faster. These results were based on 2 adult female rhesus macaques.
Oh, so just like that other table you showed us.
Yes, correct. Their wrist radial deviation has a touchdown of 5.7 degrees and a range of motion of 11.6 degrees. Their wrist suspension has a touchdown of 5.4 degrees and a range of motion of 25.5 degrees. Their wrist extension has a touchdown of 23.5 degrees and a maximum of 46.2 degrees. Their coronal palm angle touchdown is 30.4 degrees, and their 50% stance is 53.5 degrees. Their sagittal palm angle has touchdown is 64.3 degrees, and their 50% stance is 48.4 degrees.
Dr. George, how'd they even figure that out?
The researchers used a method that you can also use in special effects. They had 6 trials per subject and tracked the primate's motion using markers painted onto their skin. They were able to compute 3D motions to determine wrist joint coordination, hand orientation, and metacarpophalangeal motion. All right, kids, do we feel that we learned something new today?
Heck yeah, we did.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to remember though.
All right, follow me, kids. We have one more stop on our science adventure. I want to see if you guys really remembered what I taught you here today. All right, pop quiz.
No! I don't want to take a quiz.
Too bad. Can anyone guess why studying knuckle walking is important?
Well, it seems as though there's a lot to know, but there's not a lot to know on the actual biomechanics of knuckle walking. And you know, I've never really seen people compare knuckle walking to other walking styles such as palmigrade either.
That is a very good answer. Now, who can tell me which primate walks faster?
I know. Chimpanzees walk faster with an absolute speed of 0.84 meters per second, Dr. George.
Not quite Christian, but it was a good try. Remember how I said that without the factor of size, macaque monkeys actually have a dimensionless speed 45% faster than chimpanzees?
I forgot about that. Thanks, Dr. George.
Okay, final question. Why do you think these specific primate species are important to study?
Well, they do walk on their knuckles, but I'm unsure why they chose those 2 species in general.
The researchers found that there were similarities and differences between each of the species, showing that more research is needed to understand morphological advantages relative to many species or a particular species. Well, kids, do you feel that you learned a lesson today?
I definitely learned something. Primates are really interesting.
Me too. Who knew that walking was so cool?
Dr. George, are you leaving us so soon?
Sadly, I do. My job of teaching students about science is never complete. Goodbye, kids.
Goodbye, George.
Man, I'm so glad we got to meet Dr. George today.
Me too. Dude is mad chill.
Yeah.
I hope we get to see him again in the future.
Me too.